Okay, so I'll be clicking the broadcast button now so we can go live.
Oh, it looks so cute.
Yeah, so we're just waiting for attendees to come into our webinar today. So, mhm.
Do you have the first couple of slides where we kind of do the agenda? I can go over that while we're waiting for people to pop in.
Yeah, so as of now, I can see that there are a few attendees on our webinar today. So for those of you who are in our room right now, welcome, welcome everyone to our webinar for today with Kaylee. So this is my second time to be with Kaylee, and her first webinar with us is really interesting for those who are thinking of um, having an apartment, or if you're a newbie. Her webinar is really informative, and right now think you are not an accredited investor, think again. So this is another interesting topic from Kaylee. So for those of you who are new to investing, to real estate investing, this is one of the perfect webinars for you. So for those of you who are quite new to Zoom, since I can see that there are quite new names on for me, for you to browse over our um, Zoom controls. All you have to do is move your mouse anywhere on the screen, and there's a little pop-up on the screen from below that says chat. So all you have to do is click on that, um, and you can input in our chat box and where you are located. So as of now, if you have a business or you wanted to connect with others, you can do some networking through our chat button. So all you have to do is include your business name, your contact details, your email addresses, or any contact that our attendees can connect to you. And also we have the raise hand button. So that button is used for um,
Susan
for
already
our
figured it.
live Q&A.
Susan already
Yes,
figured out
Kaylee?
how to use it.
Yeah. So Suzanne, let me know if you have question or if there's something you wanted to ask. So right now I allowed you to talk. So please let us know if you have the question, and you can unmute yourself before we start. So let me just show this
Thank
one.
you, but I didn't
There we go.
click that.
Oh,
I
no
just
problem.
was touching my iPad to see where the buttons were.
No
But
worries,
thank
no
you.
worries about that.
Yeah.
Looking forward to your webinar.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Yeah, thank you so much again, Susan. So for that's how our raise hand button works. So for those of you who have questions, please let us know. So raise your hand, and I can allow you to talk, and we can you can ask your questions live to Kaylee during our webinar. And again, this is just a few tutorials if you are new to Zoom. So we also have the Q&A button. So this works like the chat box, but the only difference is only Kaylee and I can see your questions. So we strongly suggest to use the chat box so that probably other attendees can relate to your questions. So we will be also launching some polls within the webinar. So this first poll is for us to get to know more about you. So what type of investors are you, or how long have you been investing? And all you have to do is answer this poll, and after answering those polls, you can be eligible to join our raffle. So our raffle is done every week. So every Monday, we are posting our winners through our social media platforms in Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So by answering our polls, you are already eligible to join our raffle. And please do follow us on our social media platforms again, so you can be updated if you are the lucky winner of the week. So with our agenda for today, so we're doing quite some networking for today, and getting to know you, and for you to have an opportunity to connect with other attendees. And also by around after 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, Kaylee will be discussing our topic for today. And just after 30 to 45 minutes of talk, we will be opening the Q&A part, so feel free to ask your questions by posting them in the chat box. And again, this event is brought to you by Real Estate IQ, the #1 in deal finding, providing you with more than 45,000 leads every month. So I'll just share one of our live events previously, because few months back we are doing these events live, but due to the pandemic, we stopped those live events, and we shifted to live events like webinars like this. So we thank Real Estate IQ and Zoom for hosting our webinars. And let me just play the video for you.
Hey everyone, it's Joseph Sandola Cruz with Real Estate IQ. Here we are at the Saria. I've got Andy, one of our successful clients with us, who's been with Real Estate IQ and made a lot of things happen with our software. So,
this software pays for itself. I mean, honestly, like, if you're going to pay the subscription price, you're basically, imagine you're outsourcing the function, and you don't have to do tasks that are $5 an hour. You focus on $30 an hour tasks. So you have off-market leads being fed to you every day, and all you have to do is pick among those that you like best to then pursue. You don't have to do all this grunt work. You have someone doing it for you at an affordable price, which I love. It's an indispensable, integral part of my business, and I use it every day. I love it.
fantastic. Thank you so much, Andy, and best of luck in deal finding. Thank you.
Next time, we'll record your new deal.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Andy.
And there you have it. So that is one of our clients who's using our tools for quite some time now. So if you are a recent subscriber of Real Estate IQ, you can also sign up for a free 45-minute one-on-one deal finding training for you to know more. And if ever you're still confused of the tools, you can also sign up for now for these for this 45-minute one-on-one deal finding training. So our team can give you a background on how to use our tools. And if you're new subscriber or you haven't learned about our tools yet, all you have to do is answer yes to this poll that I have launched. So feel free to just answer yes, and we will be scheduling you for a free 45-minute one-on-one deal finding training. So our team can give you background on how to use our tools. You can even ask for tips on how we can help you to enhance your business. So our speaker for today, it is my pleasure to introduce to you everyone our speaker for today, Kaylee. So I've been with her for, I think this is our third webinar. I was with her with Hot Trends first, then she's doing our webinars for today. And let me give the floor now to Kaylee. Kaylee.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you good.
Okay, awesome. Before we start, I want to share this with you guys. We'll get to, do I need to swap my screen and share mine, or are you going to be able to do that for me, for Jeff?
Let me check on that. Yeah, let me share the other slides for you.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you everybody for coming.
Okay, can you see
today.
that?
Yes, there we go.
All right.
Thank you everybody for coming today. I appreciate it. I just got off a plane from Portland, Oregon. That's where my family lives. And I'll introduce myself a little bit. Multifamily principal and 700, and I'd say more like 50 doors actually, but quite a decent number of doors. And then we're looking for some more before the end of the year, of course. I'm also a residential real estate broker. I'm a former single family flipper. I really hated that. It wasn't a good experience for me. And there's always a reason things happen for everybody. So I kind of took my sign and decided to do a little bit more research on something that would fit my long-term goals faster and better. Again, I'm an advocate for women's independence and financial inclusion. And so when it comes to bringing more women into multifamily deals, whether they're limited partners or whether they're partners, these multifamily deals we don't joint venture or JV. But like I have a gal right now, I just was with this weekend in Seattle. And so you can use a 1031 exchange and roll that into an apartment investment. So she's able to do that, get out of a West Coast property that's worth quite a bit, and then be able to get into multifamily. So I also wanted to share my mug because I don't know if it'll show it to you. Actually, it won't, darn it. But my girlfriend Erica made that mug for me for my birthday. So I'm just really proud about being able to be happy and secure and bring women into what I do. And that's why our company is called the Apartment Queen, because I feel like all the women that are involved in our deals are queens. So that's a little bit about me. And I wanted to make it really clear, kind of, I've got a summit coming up, and we do other webinars. And at the beginning of every webinar, I want to make sure that everybody knows why you're here, so make it real clear. And then in the end, obviously kind of pick up and saying, this is what we accomplished today. So why you're here. We really must keep up to date and educated to make wise investing decisions. If you don't qualify or didn't qualify as an accredited investor before, as of about a month ago, you were able to change that a little bit. So before, about a month ago, you're missing opportunities, getting the ability to invest in larger apartment deals. And those are usually deals that are more secure when it comes to a recession, because just very briefly, we have a couple of vacancies on a 250 unit complex or 100 unit complex. It's really not as big of a deal as it is on a smaller one. So usually though, those deals require a larger amount of capital to close. So usually to be able to do that, we'll take accredited investors who can invest more. However, that definition has been really limited. And I'll show you guys in a minute what the actual definition from the SEC has been for accredited and sophisticated individuals. A lot of the times I get a response where I ask, are you accredited or sophisticated? Because those are the kinds of people that can do securities offerings or buy shares of, say, an apartment deal, for example. They'll say, oh, I'm accredited, because they think sophisticated is like the higher level one. It's actually flip-flopped. So whenever you're sophisticated, you have sufficient knowledge of real estate and understand the risks, basically. And then accredited, there's a whole list of what makes up that definition. So meaning before the last couple of months, you've been missing opportunities on these larger deals. And now this may have changed. So we're going to go over today exactly how it's changed, what's coming. It takes about 60 days since the ruling has been announced to have it enacted with at the SEC. So we're still kind of waiting for it to be official, but it'll be done before the end of the year. So that's good news. And again, another reason why you're here, because I want everyone to know that alternative asset investing is becoming more inclusive, meaning investments leveraged by real estate assets are available to more investors instead of just only letting them have the availability for what I like to call legalized gambling, the stock market. So these alternative assets are a lot more secure long-term when it comes to where you're putting your money. So now it's more inclusive to more people, more investors. So why? So I'm going to go through a brief history right now, so you guys understand kind of why the SEC does this, why they have these offerings. I'm not going to go through the full history, but SEC stands for Securities and Exchange Commission if you're newer. And why do they get involved in our multifamily deals? And they can also be involved when it comes to any kind of commercial deal or large investment opportunity where there are people that have experience that are basically offering these projects, and then people that put in their money and they're able to get mailbox money or returns. So we call it a security, because of a couple different things. So basically, whenever this is really important for you to look at when you're looking at opportunities that are alternative investments. So if you're looking at something that might be a joint venture, I've seen those a lot of the times, not kind of, not marketed, they're not registered correctly, or there are certain deals out there where there's a few partners, but in reality, what I call for a securities sniff test, which securities are a cool thing, I think, because what happens is, for example, if you're doing a deal, and you obviously have to understand the risks of the deal, you have to read all of the private placement memorandum documents, all of the, like I said, the risks and rewards of the deal, and understand it before signing anything, because you're basically saying, I agree to the risks, but also knowing what kind of deal you're getting into, because something where you're wanting to get mailbox money or passive income out of an investment that may be a marketed security or security, and you're not sure because it may be on a document or offering as a joint venture or something like that. The way that you can figure out if this offering really truly should have been registered as a security is if the team is taking money from investors. That's one thing. If all the money is for the same purpose from each investor, and then also ask yourself, is the company or team doing all the work to make the money? So if those things are happening, basically it's security. So really, if you're saying, well, I don't think that a deal that's got 3 people involved in it, should be a security, technically more than 2 people that are involved in a deal and more than 2 are not active members, meaning they're the ones physically talking to the contractors, buying the supplies, doing the work on the project, it's a security. So I just, like I said, see a lot of things out there. And the reason why securities are interesting, unique, helpful in any way are just because the Securities and Exchange Commission, basically, like it says right on here, it keeps the deal sponsors from running away with your money. If you're doing a joint venture or something marketed that way, you really don't have a whole lot of protection other than, hiring an attorney and then hoping that they're good enough and maybe they can cross, different country borders and state lines and things like that. But the Securities and Exchange Commission is kind of a big deal. So when it comes to people literally just taking off with the investors' money, there is some recourse. So that's why it's an interesting, probably good idea to look at some offerings, at least get interested in offerings that they're securitized. And then also if you're looking at prospective offerings, this is the 3 sniff test that makes up if it is a security or not. So this is a little diagram that I have. This is actually from a securities attorney that I've worked with in the past. And what she put together was basically a really nice outline of securities acts and what happened and where they're coming from. So a lot of the times, for example, on our offerings, I'm not going to go into each of these and what they do and all the rules and whatnot, but the Securities Act started in 1933. And basically what it was is it was giving us an opportunity to make an extra part of the economy, if you will. So normally jobs and money is made by different companies. Well, there are wealthy individuals out there or some people that have equity in their home or they have some wealth and they're able to then use that money to fund companies that then create more jobs and obviously pump up the economy. So in 1933, this is right after the Great Recession. So this is the time where we really wanted to stimulate our economy. So then these came out. And again, I'm not going to go into the full history. There's a great book if you want to know about it. It's by Jillian Sidoti. And she's a securities attorney. And I'm happy to give that to you if you want to email me. But so out of that Securities Act, Regulation D, A, CF, 3A, 11 all came out of that act, and all at different years and different times and for different reasons. But really what we're doing on these apartment offerings, and it's very common to do it this way, there are other deals out there that use different versions of things, but we go under Regulation D, 506B or 506C. So now you can see a visualization of kind of how it's broken out. So 506B, we call the buddy offering. So this is friends and family only. So like I was explaining to my dad yesterday while we were on a hike, I told him, so the B, buddy, means that only if you have a pre-existing relationship with me before I'm under contract on a deal, then I can show you the offering and then I can offer it to those people. Regulation C is for accredited investors only. And accredited used to mean something. We'll go over kind of how that definition is changing, but it was a very limited pool of Americans or individuals, period, that could invest in these types of deals. And for the Reg D 506C offering, we would have to use a third-party accreditation service where basically they talk to your CPA or talk to, usually it's your CPA, and get enough information to figure out if you meet the requirements to be considered accredited. So now this is expanding. So Reg D 506C is expanding so that there's more accredited investors in the United States. Because the types of offerings, like I mentioned earlier, that 506C investors get access to are a higher institutional quality than Reg D 506B, and they're usually larger because, yeah, I'll explain that later. So this is just kind of like a snapshot of the whole thing, where it came from. You know, if you see usually Reg A plus, those are like a mini IPO. Those are offerings that are regulated differently. They're very large. They kind of, so I won't go and get into all that, but by the way, Reg D 506C and B are an exemption to the Securities Act. So what that means is you don't have to go through full registration. And so that way we're able to do a real estate deal, because as y'all know, real estate deals are always time is of the essence. So it's really important to be able to get it under contract, perform how you're supposed to, raise the money, and then close. So there's not a lot of time to wait for a registration to happen. So that's why the exemptions were also built in, so that we could raise money for these opportunities, and then also have qualified individuals that are investing in them. So that's kind of a good snapshot. Like I mentioned, the history at a glance real quick. 1933 it started. 2012 you jump to the Jobs Act, Jumpstart Our Business Startups. So again, it's about stimulating the economy is why the securities SEC has made these types of offerings available. Like I mentioned earlier, a mini IPO, I don't even want it, or QIB, which is a qualified institutional buyer, under Title I originally, those are the only people that could invest as accredited individuals. Under Title II, again, these come out later, more layers, realizing that we need to keep expanding the definition to include more people. Title II is where 506C accredited third-party authorization came from. Then Title III, Regulation CF or crowdfunding exemption came into play. This would be a great way for us to raise some funds for multifamily, but unfortunately right now Reg CF is capped at $1,070,000 for a raise. So a lot of these larger deals, the raises are going to definitely be over $1 million. So, I mean, I've got a raise right now that's 1.17 million, and it's a decently, I would say, smaller apartment. So on these large ones where we have, a $9 million raise, we wouldn't be able to use Reg CF. So this is for like a smaller opportunity. And then there's Title IV that came out, which is, like I said, your Reg A plus, kind of like a mini IPO, where it's under 50 million, 50 million plus, and there are very few regulations here. And then, like I mentioned earlier, what is an exemption and why is it used? So you may not be able to read all this, and if you'd like, I can definitely email y'all after the webinar is over. But this is a screenshot of the old rules of the investor suitability under Regulation D 506C and 506B, or really any of them, because you're going, okay, what does it take to be accredited and what does it take to be sophisticated? So right here, you can see on the left-hand side under accredited investors, those who qualify as accredited, specifically defined in Rule 501A under Securities Act. To qualify as accredited, you're a natural, so I call it the 1, 2, 3 rule, but there's more rules, of course. So under the 1, 2, 3 rule, your net worth is, so any of these, if you can check any of these boxes, you qualify as accredited. So one, if you have $1 million net worth minus your primary residence, then you're accredited. B or two, then you are an individual or natural person who has an income in excess of $200,000 each of the most 2 recent years. And then if you have a spouse, then it's joint income of $300,000 or more, again, the last 2 years. So that's the 1, 2, 3 rule that we usually go by as a kind of barometer for being accredited. But also if you're a corporation, a partnership, LLC, if you're an organization described under 501c3, so if you guys know what 501c3s are, that's non-for-profit or non-profit organizations under the IRS code, or a similar company, not specifically formed for buying apartments, basically, with total assets in excess of 5 million, a trust with an excess of 5 million, not formed for a specific purpose of buying apartments. You can be an entity, all of the owners of which have to be accredited investors. You can be banks, savings and loan associations, private business development companies, broker dealers, insurance companies. So basically you can see these are pretty strict rules, and they're pretty high level as far as who all can actually be considered accredited. So that means a lot of people are missing out on these offerings. Now, right as it stands as of this moment, while we're waiting for this next legislation to be officially passed or enacted, I guess, sophisticated definition you can see on the bottom here. It talks a little bit about what makes up a sophisticated individual. And if you follow to the left-hand column over here, it's very vague, to tell you the truth. So that's why I said it's kind of like accredited, and then sophisticated individuals are the people that qualify to be able to use these exemptions that I mentioned earlier. So a sophisticated individual under the SEC's rules are a non-accredited, obviously, investor in a company. So basically somebody, before accepting an investment, a non-accredited investor, the company will consider the following. A non-accredited investor's investment in the company cannot consist of a material proportion of his or her whole, you can't use your whole financial capacity, basically. So for us, our rule is under 10% of your net worth. You can invest, that's fine. 2, a non-accredited investor must have sufficient knowledge of finance, securities, and investments generally. So y'all need to educate yourself, read up, make sure you're very comfortable with what a security is. And I have another, like I said, book for that by Jillian Sidoti if you want to understand how this all works. And then a non-accredited investor that has sufficient experience and skill in investments based on actual participation. So sometimes if somebody has bought and scaled a large company, or they've been an executive for a long time, an engineer, and been involved in real estate, and they have, like I said, sufficient knowledge of finance, securities, investments generally, they can be considered sophisticated, and then they would qualify under these exemptions to be able to invest in a securitized offering. So those are the old rules. And like I mentioned at the very beginning, the title of this thing is if you didn't qualify as an accredited investor before and you missed opportunities, now that may have changed. So here's 7 notable additions to accredited investor qualifications listed here under. So 1, and these are all new, so it's kind of exciting. So a lot of my friends are going, yay, I can be accredited now and I can invest. So number 1, in good standing with Series 7, Series 6.5, Series 82 licenses as qualified natural persons. So those are a lot of people that have those types of certifications are some sort of investment advisor. So obviously they should have sufficient knowledge to be able to invest in a deal. Number 2, Indian tribes are now added, government bodies, funds, as well as entities organized under a law of foreign countries that own investments as defined in Rule 2A51-1B under the Investment Company Act in excess of 5 million. So that entry point is still high there. An LLC, so this is great. An LLC company with 5 million in assets may be considered as accredited investors and add SEC and state registered investment advisors, exempt reporting advisors, as well as rural business investment companies, rubrics, to the list of entities that may qualify. So there's a whole group there that got added. 4, investments in a private fund, natural persons who are considered knowledgeable employees of the fund, which is pretty cool. Because, for example, I'm starting a fund at the end of the year, and so that fund has to have so many different individuals that are involved in it. So we have to have a financial CFO, essentially, so an accountant that's over the fund, and we all have our different roles in that, and they're a knowledgeable person. So they would be considered having enough knowledge to be accredited. So it's pretty cool. 5, family offices with at least 5 million in assets under management, as well as their family clients, which is also cool because of that umbrella that it's adding, as well as their family clients. 6, spousal equivalent is also added to the accredited investor definition, so that spousal equivalent may pool their capitals with their other spouse for the purpose of qualifying as accredited investors. So earlier it basically said spouse, so meaning you had to be married, and now we know how our society is trending, and that's just how it is. So it's really great that we finally have an update to these securities offerings, or I guess accredited definition, because things have changed and it's time to change with the times. So that's another addition. Number 7, a QIB, like I mentioned earlier, qualified institutional buyer in Rule 144A is to include RBICs, so the rural business investment companies that I mentioned earlier, and LLCs, in the event that they meet the 100 million in securities invested and owned threshold in the definition. So that, again, includes a whole group of people with all these new additions. So like I mentioned, alternative asset investing is becoming more inclusive. We're including more individuals. As of August 26, 2020. That's when the announcement came out from the SEC. Typically, it takes about 60 days to enact. So, we'll see in this month if that actually happens or not. But it may wait until after November, So we'll see. But like I mentioned a second ago, the last change was in 2012. So, it's been 8 years since there's been any changes to this definition. So it's about time it changes. And like I mentioned earlier, this means that investments leveraged by real assets, so real property that's not going anywhere, are available to more investors instead of, like I said, legalized gambling, the stock market. A large group of investors who did not have the capability to invest in alternative apartment investments now can. With alternative asset investments, you are able to grow your wealth faster. So for example, if any of you, I'm going to put this as an offer out there. I have a team member who is amazing at making it very clear to investors what they're working with now with their wealth or their trapped wealth, trapped equity, teaching them what type of investments they have now, if it's single family rentals, a fourplex, etc., or if it's stocks, bonds, any of that kind of stuff. And putting on a whiteboard, if you will, for you live. She'll do a 30-minute call with you and explain to you where your cash on cash and your overall returns are projected to be at based on what you're already invested in, and then what that looks like compared to other assets that you can invest in. So it makes it very clear for you. I had a girlfriend of mine who had about 35 questions, and they spent 30 minutes together, and she was able to really show her how her townhome investing, the new build townhome investing, was overall making a 3% cash on cash return. Whereas I'll just give an example, our apartments typically are about 20% annualized and closer to 85 to 100% on sale return. So, and there's more as well. So it makes it pretty clear, but just saying that it grows your wealth faster if you're able to invest in alternative assets. There are better returns than typical retirement saving investing. And you also have, like I mentioned, the opportunity to access investments secured by real assets. If we get into a time period where we're having to protect our physical gold bars and trade chickens, and, a lot of us thought about that for sure myself during COVID, what am I going to do? I thought, I'm going to be okay because I own the buildings and that's where people have to live. They're not going anywhere. So if you're worried about security and you want to really protect your gold, is what I call it, then getting involved in real assets is a great way to be able to secure your long-term wealth. Now, again, it's not gambling. It's not going to be a quick return, quick in, quick out. But again, that helps us. And again, I think it will come in very handy when we soon will see inflation of the US dollar, if we do. Again, like I mentioned, within 60 days of that date in August, this will be finalized by the SEC, and likely we'll be ready to raise and close a deal. Actually, so we're already in that now. So let's erase that, because I thought I was going to give this presentation like a month ago. So, but anyway, just saying that hopefully, I guess the next deal that we do, this accredited definition will be expanded. And so hopefully we'll be able to have more individuals on our deals, which is really exciting.
Oh, I think that's the last slide, Kaylee. Is that the last one?
I think there's a couple more where I just give my contact information and have Q&A later, but I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So thank you so much, Kaylee, for that wonderful information. And, to be honest, that is really essential for those who are really new to real estate investment, especially in, in apartments. So, this is one good webinar for you. So for those of you who wanted to ask about the recordings and all, we are sending out emails after the webinar. So expect to receive the email within 24 to 48 hours, so that you can review Kaylee's webinar for today. And if in case that you missed Kaylee's webinar, I think that was 2 weeks ago, I'll be including my email address. Let me just type that. So there's my email address. You can send me an email so I can reply to you with the link to Kaylee's first webinar with us. So, just send me an email anytime and I'll respond to you as soon as I can. And also, if you have questions about, our products, our services, and anything about Real Estate IQ, we are always open for you. So all you have to do is save these numbers in your screen. So I'll be pasting those links in the chat box there, so you can just copy and paste that to your computers, and we guarantee our response from our customer service. And if you're interested to have if in case that you haven't answered yet our polls for the 45-minute one-on-one deal finding training, all you have to do is answer the poll right now, because we'll be launching the next poll. And we also invite you for our webinars. All you have to do is go to realstateiq.co/events, so you can sign up for our deal finding training webinars with Becky Krominga and Rodney Rush. And we also have freebies, and I told you about the poll that we are launching throughout the webinar. So all you have to do is answer this next poll, so you can choose from our freebies of the week. So this one will be given every week once we have chosen our lucky winners on Monday. So you can also join our new community portal. So all you have to do is go to community.realstateiq.co. so you can join our community groups, and you can connect and do networking with other investors. And if in case you have questions, you can also include that in the community, because this works like Facebook. So you can just post your questions, connect with others, and this is one really great way for you to do some networking.
There's my group right there, the apartment one.
Yeah. So by looking at once you went to the community portal, all you have to do is type in apartment. So it will show up Kaylee's group. So feel free to join our group anytime. Just go to community.realestateIQ.co. And also, we also have future events. So all you have to do is go to realestateIQ.co/events. So in this link, you can sign up for our future events. So, you can save a spot for our webinars. And we also invite you for our Hot Trends. That is every Thursday at 5 p.m. Also, every Wednesdays, our book club at 5 p.m. as well. And every fourth Wednesdays of the month, we have the Geeks and Nerds for those of you who are quite tech savvy with the real estate investing. And right now is the perfect opportunity for you guys to ask your questions. So feel free to include your questions to our chat box and let us know if you have questions. And our also we have the Q&A box. Let me just check that. And yes, we have a question from Trina. So Trina asked Kaylee if what makes someone a sophisticated investor? Are there limits to the deals that a sophisticated investor can engage in?
Let me unmute myself there. So if you were looking at slide 4, 5, 6, something like that, I literally posted the definition of an accredited and sophisticated investor under Rule 506B and C. Or actually it was Rule 506A, so it covers all the exemptions. It said it right there, and I don't remember off the top of my head what verbatim it was, but there were 1, 2, 3. It looked like, if I remember correctly, A was that we basically couldn't take the individual's entire net worth is not what the wording was, but if you want the slides and you want to go back, it's right there. But basically what we do is we don't take more than 10% of somebody's net worth. That's kind of where we cap it at. So that's kind of the limits that we follow, but that's not necessarily, yeah, Jeff, right there, the number, it's like under, down, 1, 2, 3, right there. Yeah, under that one. So right there, the right-hand side column over here. Go up one.
Okay.
So on the right-hand side column here, Rule A, B, C, that's under the sophisticated definition, where a non-accredited investor's investment in the company cannot consist of a material proportion of his or her total financial capacity. So like I said, we cap it at 10% of their net worth. B, a non-accredited or sophisticated investor must have sufficient knowledge of finance, securities, investment generally. And a non-accredited sophisticated investor must have sufficient experience and skill in investments based on actual participation. So right now, that is what the definition of sophisticated is. And yeah, so hopefully that answered that question.
All right, thank you so much, Kaylee and Trina. Thank you so much for your questions. And for those of you who have questions as well, right now is the perfect opportunity for you to post that in the chat box and the Q&A box. And if you want to ask your questions live, so you can raise your hand and I can allow you to talk. So you can ask your questions live to Kaylee. So right now, I'll just, while waiting for your questions, I also wanted to invite you guys to, let me just share this slide there. So I also wanted to invite you for some good news. That will be tomorrow with our guest speakers, Brent Phillips, Bob Peep, and Wayne Corley, with JC, our CEO, and Becky Krominga as our host. And we also invite you for our Finding Opportunities in Crisis. This is our very, very first annual Investor Summit. So we've got tons of speakers in this webinar. And as you can see, that is 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. CDT and 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. EDT. And that's on October 17th. You know, it's a very long webinar, but I guarantee you that you will learn a lot from this webinar. So let me just share this screen right now. This one. So Kaylee, I think I cannot see any questions anymore in our chat box and our Q&A box. So let us know about this last poll that we'll be launching about your future apartment investments. So everyone, please answer this poll. This is for Kaylee, so she can directly communicate with you. And any, I think there are no questions anymore. So Kaylee, any last tips or words of advice to enlighten our attendees and especially our newbies for in this industry?
Sure. So this was kind of going over the Securities Exchange, SEC, so Securities and Exchange Commission. And again, I'm not an attorney, so I'm going to put that out there. I think I forgot to say that. So anything I say is not legal advice. But however, this is just based on experience, what's happening and what I'm excited to share, because what I go through every day is like right now we're doing due diligence, certain parts of deals that we have coming up. We're looking forward to doing regulation CF or crowdfunding. It's going to supposedly expand before the end of the year. Like I mentioned, it's only 1 million raised right now, but it's supposed to go up to 5. But those would be a CF when it comes. I'll do another webinar on it, or crowdfunding. Is if it goes up to 5 million, that would be something that I can go have my grandma invest, $500, or my friend $5,000, or I've got friends from high school that have $25,000 IRAs that we can move over to self-directed. And so instead of it sitting there making 4% a year, it's now making 20% annualized. Obviously that beats the crud out of the returns on, a normal investment or retirement savings account. So just wanted to let you know, when you're looking at prospective offerings, how to kind of give it the sniff test. Is it really a securities offering? And if it is a securities offering, they're supposed to be adding extra security, literally, to the investment that you're investing in. So that's why securities offerings are a great option. These changes also make it more inclusive. So more individuals will be able to invest, like I said, hopefully within this month. That will be finalized with the SEC. So what my purpose is and what my goal is to bring 1 billion female investors into the world. So whether they're involved in a smaller investment and say they have 5,000 to invest. I have a girlfriend that owns a note company, and she is about to start doing securitized offerings. She has done them in the past. I've invested with her. She can take smaller amounts. We have other investments where you may be investing in a ground up new construction, new development. I don't do those. I do value add apartment flipping or investing. So there's many different ways you can invest out there that give you really good returns and obviously increase your net worth faster, which is what I want. I want more women in the investment space, and then also more individuals building their net worth faster, because there's better ways to do things. So that's kind of my job, is to share that. Without droning on too long, what I want to ask is there anybody out there that I run into this often? So when you do a securities offering, there are a lot of documents that go along with it. So I've done another webinar before, and I have it still. There's another document that we created with my SEC attorney, where we went through, if it's your first time looking through a stack of documents like this thick, a lot of people kind of freak out, especially when I got started. My friends that would fund or get involved with a single family flip or a small project, then when I'm going, okay, now our minimums are going up to 50,000 plus, they're going, oh wow, I don't want to read all those documents. There's so much information, but really it's just disclosing everything is why it's so big. So it's going through who gets paid, when they get paid, how capital calls are handled, how distributions are handled, how the voting is handled, all the things, the market risk, who is the operating team. I mean, all the things are covered in the subscription agreement, in the getting a call from my broker, subscription agreement, in the PPM or private placement memorandum, and then also in the company agreement. So those things are what makes up that big stack of documents. I do have a shortened checklist that, if you would like that, we've, like I said, put that together with my SEC attorney, of just some questions to kind of ask the deal offerer that you might have, or some things to kind of look for when you're in there at a high level, because it can be kind of overwhelming. So if that's helpful, is there anybody here that has had that experience and they may have some specific questions? I was looking through an offering and it was too big and overwhelming, and maybe I just wanted to know, is this normal? I saw this. Or does anyone have any questions like that about anything that you've seen?
As of now, Kaylee, there's no questions from the Q&A box and the chat box. So if you thought of a question, let's say by tomorrow or any time of the week, I have posted Kaylee's contact details in the chat box. And also you can see that on your screens. So feel free to reach out to Kaylee if you have questions. So right now, again, Kaylee, I think you've covered everything clearly for this webinar. We thank you so much for your time. And for attendees, we thank you so much for attending. And we look forward to see you again on our future webinars with Kaylee. So Kaylee, anything to add before we end the webinar today?
Yeah, you got it. So just this last slide is just saying that what typically we look for investors just like yourselves. So our ultimate passive investors are women that are, they have like, I'm taking now a 1031 exchange. She's selling a smaller property, but on one of the West Coast in this situation. So she's going to get a lot more units or get involved with a lot more units versus going into, a 4 unit or a 5 unit. And so I like to work with women, obviously, but individuals, period, who are high net worth individuals, doctors, dentists, engineers, female athletes, Aggie women, CEOs and founders. And there's many more individuals that generally are considered accredited. But now that we have the expansion of the definition, I need to probably change this page and add some more people to it. So if you fall into one of these categories, or, you got your attention caught because you agree that, oh, I am accredited, or I will be in the next month, and you're interested in future offerings, y'all do have my contact information, and we're looking to work with you on the next deal.
All right. Once again, thank you so much, Kaylee, for your time. And, we thank our attendees as well for sharing your time with us for this webinar. And just go to realstateiq.co/events so you can, register for our future events. And, we are updating that almost every day. So once we have another webinar with Kaylee, you can just go to that website and register for her upcoming webinar. So again, everyone, thank you so much for your time. I'll be staying in this webinar in this room. So just to give you time to copy and paste some of the details in the chat box. So just to give you time. So Kaylee, again, thank you so much for your time. See you again next time. And again, everyone, have a great day. Bye for now.
Of course, Jeff, you rock. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Stay safe.